You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati Spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Bermel.
Thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bermel, joined by my friends Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
Jeffrey Wagstaff.
Hello, friend.
And world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the esteemed Bonati Spine Institute.
Hello, friend.
Well, we have an exciting show lined up. We're going to talk about willing your bodies. But beyond that, we have a patient that we're going to speak with. We're going to talk stem cells, what's new in American medicine today, and something called Evitar. So just make sure you stay tuned, because if you've ever wondered why a person would donate their body to science, well, you're just about to find out. Joining us right now is Jennifer Mark, Director of Anatomical Facilities at the University of Central Florida, and she's here to discuss the Willed Bodies program. Thanks for joining us on the show, Jennifer.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes.
Now, we actually already went out to UCF, Kimberly and myself and the crew, and filmed a segment for the TV show. And it was so cool, we thought we have to get you on radio. Jennifer, just to start off, I've always been fascinated with just the concept of willing your body to science, because I think it's an option most people don't even consider.
I didn't know it was one.
Well, I mean, you hear about people saying, hey, I'm going to donate my body to science, but most people don't think about that. So tell us about the Willed Bodies program and what it's all about.
Yes, and that's true. A lot of people don't think about it. I think it's becoming more and more popular. I think that by word of mouth, it's traveling, and I also think as just maybe a sign of the times type of situation where I think that we've seen the last of the day of the expensive $10,000 funerals. People aren't doing that much anymore. Cremation rates are at an all-time high, and so times are changing, and more people are thinking of other things to do with their bodies when they die. So willing one's body is definitely something that's becoming more popular. People are wanting their body to go somewhere and for someone to learn from their body, someone to be educated on anatomy from their body. So more and more people are learning about this, and they're interested and want to do this with their body. So we receive lots of phone calls every day. Every day we receive calls from people in the community that have questions about our program, and they want to do this for themselves. So it's a really, I think it's a really great opportunity for many people for many different reasons, and that is what we do here at the UCF College of Medicine.
I would have to think that if I was considering willing my body to science, aren't some people afraid maybe they might be like humiliated or this or that? I mean, is that a question that people ask? Like, what happens to me? I mean, I know I'm dead and it shouldn't really bother me, but people are going to be staring
you're right.
at my body.
It is a question.
Yeah.
It is a question that is asked of me, and rightfully so. People are wonder what will happen, where will my body go, who will see my body, and what I tell them about our program here is our bodies are treated with the utmost respect. We have our medical students, all of our bodies that are received here as a willed body, which are then we refer to as cadavers, are delegated into our different medical approved programs. So within our own medical school, we supply the other medical schools within the state of Florida.
Okay.
Or any other program that we see fit, and we supply them with the cadaver. So that program could be even some physicians that need to utilize a cadaver for some type of study that they're doing. So I tell the families that call us and that have that question that we have a lot of respect here and a lot of dignity. And I think that as you've seen when you were here visiting our lab as well, and I think we talked about this a little bit too, is you've seen the facility.
Yes.
So you've seen how clean and nicely contained it was.
Beautiful facility.
It is beautiful, and it is a very professional group of people that are involved with the cadavers. So ours here, for instance, are medical students.
Right.
And so they are, from day one, this ethical portion of it is instilled in them, and they come in, and our students treat these bodies with such respect and such dignity, and it's such a nice thing to see, and it's a highly respected program. So I try to tell that to people that call in and ask that question and put their mind at ease a little bit.
We're running almost out of time. So, students, when they receive the bodies, they call them their first patients. Why don't you kind of tell us about that process?
They do, and many of these students, this is their first patient. They've gone to an undergraduate school, and now they're in medical school, so many of them are young. Many of them may have not even had any death in their own family or friends yet.
Correct.
So this body that they're looking at is maybe something very new to them as well, just the death portion of it. But we call it their first patient, and this is where they learn. And this is an actual human body that they're learning anatomy on. So it is their first patient, and I think that puts a little bit more respect into it as well with them. So it's really a neat thing.
Jennifer, for folks who are listening at home and they'd like to get more information, how can they find you on the web?
Absolutely. They could simply do, the easiest thing I would say is just to do a Google search and type in UCF Willed Body Program. They can also call me at 407-266-1142, and I'll be happy to talk with them and mail information. We have a nice information packet that we mail to people that are interested. So those are two easy ways to reach me.
And Jennifer, as we finish up here, I wanted you to touch upon really quickly how the cadavers, the bodies, are honored at the end.
Yes, so it's a tradition. It's a student-driven event, and it's pretty traditional across the United States, where the medical students do hold a memorial ceremony. And so the students put it together on their own. Each year it's a little different. There's usually always some talented students in the group, whether they sing a song, play a song on the guitar or the piano, they light candles, they read poems. There's always something that we do at the end of the year where the students honor their cadavers.
Excellent.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you so much. Jennifer Mark, Director of Anatomical Facilities at the University of Central Florida. Thank you for coming on the show and discussing the Willed Bodies program.
Thanks, Jennifer.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. And Dr. Bonati, one of the amazing things is this whole lab that they have is upstairs with all the light coming in.
There's a view of...
It's spectacular.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's not down in a basement somewhere like a lot of these laboratories are.
Yeah, well, make sure you stay tuned, because coming up after the break, we're going to talk to Wilson Rodriguez. Find out what he has to say. You're listening to American Medicine Today. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for continuing to listen to American Medicine Today. I am Kimberly Brumell, joined by Ethan Euchre.
I am Ethan Euchre.
Yes, and we have Jeff Wagstaff with us.
Yes, I am.
And over yonder is world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So for those of you that have spent years listening to our program, you understand that Dr. Bonati came from the traditional spine surgery realm, where they would do open back surgeries, and those would yield very poor results for their patients. He became disheartened, and he learned arthroscopy on different joints of the body. Well, it was him that thought out of those typical textbook teachings and developed his own methods and instrumentation to really bring relief to his patients with spine surgery. And he developed the patented and exclusive Bonati spine procedures. They're targeted precision procedures that go in and they eradicate one's pain. And we have 98.75% patient-reported success. With that said, we want to get right into it.
In today's Back to Life segment, we will talk to a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute who went from living a life that was restricted by pain and discomfort through their journey of finding the Bonati Spine Institute and are now living pain-free.
We are very excited to introduce to the program Wilson Rodriguez. He is a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute calling in from Orlando, Florida. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us how you came to be in pain?
Well, I've been having this pain for a very long time.
Okay.
I'm 61 years old.
All right.
So I've had this pain quite a while. But I was always scared to get surgery because I've always heard nightmares of people that had back surgeries.
Yes.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
But I developed this pain, and in the beginning, when I started getting these episodes of this sharp pain, I would just lay down for a few days and it would go away. But I noticed every episode was getting worse and worse. And after so many years, working and everything,
yeah.
I had some really, really bad episodes here,
When you talk about bad episodes and pain, can you tell us, was it localized to a certain area on your body, or did it start there and radiate elsewhere? And can you kind of tell everyone listening where that pain was?
Yeah, my back pain was in my lower spine.
Okay.
And it just radiated through my whole body.
Oh, okay.
I mean, my whole body, and it's kind of funny what I'm going to tell you. When I went to the institution,
mm-hmm.
they asked me, my pain, was it from 1 to 10? And I actually said, you must be kidding me. This is chronic pain.
Right.
This is so bad I can't sleep. It takes me a half hour to get up, to just get on the floor, and it just got bad and worse and worse. And I decided to get surgery.
So it was really impacting your life in a very negative fashion.
Oh man, I couldn't do anything.
Okay.
There was no life at all.
So when you decided to stop living life on the sidelines and you knew that there was action to be taken, what did you do? I mean, did you seek conservative type treatments? Can you kind of walk us through that process?
Sure. Before I got surgery, I did go see a doctor here in Central Florida.
Sure.
And I got the MRIs, I got the X-rays, and I got an epidural shot.
Right. Okay.
It was 2 years ago that I got an epidural shot.
Sure.
I mean, it's kind of funny what I want to tell you again because it lasted me almost 2 years,
mm-hmm.
And when that, I guess, dissolved, I'm going to use that word dissolve. I really don't know the word for it, but I had so much pain that I decided this time I'm going to have surgery.
All right. And so what did you do at that point? You knew surgery was your next step. How did you end up finding the Bonati Spine Institute?
I ended up finding the Bonati Institution through, I'm not a computer wizard.
Sure.
I don't know much about computers, but I decided to go in Google and I wrote spine doctor.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I wrote down.
Okay.
Spine doctor. And the Bonati Institution popped up. Mm-hmm. And I kept reading on it. I said, wait a minute, this is the place I need to go. 98%,
mm-hmm.
satisfaction.
Right.
I said, wait a minute, my chances are great here.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. And
I'm
so happy I made that decision.
So what happens? You make the decision, you call in, you end up in Hudson. What was that experience like for you?
Man, my experience started from a phone call. I called the institution. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you who answered, but they asked me a lot of questions.
Sure.
And what I found fascinating about this was they didn't give me an appointment right away. They said the doctor will call you. Okay. And it was amazing because not too long after, the same day, I did get a phone call, mm-hmm. and I got a phone call from Dr. Bonati. And that's when my experience started happening. Before I even stepped into the institution, my experience started happening when the doctor called me. It was incredible. It was incredible because I was explaining to him what I felt, and it's funny what I'm going to tell you because he told me over the phone. He says, "Well, I think you're going to need 2 or 3 procedures."
Okay.
And it's amazing. After I went there, that's exactly what I needed to have.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's like he told me exactly what he was going to do to me before he even met me.
It's all the years of expertise.
Wow.
Isn't
Let me
it?
tell you, that blew my mind away.
Sir, I can hear the surprise in your voice. It's amazing to me that when we talk to patients, I can't believe the doctor spoke to me. Like this is something foreign because most doctors don't do it.
Right.
It's commonplace at Bonati Spine Institute.
Oh, sir, you wouldn't believe when I answered the phone and he said, "This is Dr. Bonati." I said, "Wow, a doctor's calling me." This is amazing. And that's what really, really. I mean, I went all the way for it when he called me and he spoke to me.
When you were there in person and you had the evaluation where you were physically in front of him, did you have to tell him where your pain was, or was he able to say, "Don't tell me, let me tell you"?
Yeah, after the MRIs and the X-rays, he was looking at it. He told me exactly where everything was.
Right.
He told me exactly. He showed me through the MRIs. He said, "This is a problem here." I said, "Wow, wow."
So that must have made you feel very relaxed at that point.
Let me tell you, Dr. Bonati, I can't say much. I can't say because he's incredible.
Yeah.
The way he treated me. I mean, and I'm over here telling my wife, I said, "This is the way he treats everybody. This is the feeling I'm getting here."
100%.
He treats everybody the same. I said, "Wow, man, this is a good man. He's going to be a great doctor. He's a great doctor, and I know my back is going to be great."
So there you're going to be under conscious IV sedation. So let's place you in the operating room. Did you watch your surgery?
Yes, I did, man.
And
I watched my surgery.
Did you think that was even in the realm of possibilities?
No, I never thought I would actually see somebody doing surgery on my back, and I'm seeing it with my own eyes.
And you were communicating?
And plus he needed me to be up. I believe every patient's the same because he'll touch certain areas, and he needed me, for example, to tell him where would it bother me, my leg or my back.
Sure. And so you could see how that would be beneficial versus just waking up and you don't really know if you were in the right area or not.
Super beneficial. And then I told a friend of mine. They told me, "Oh, that's scary." I said, "It's not really scary because this is amazing. Technology today is amazing." I said,
I've had surgery where I got to watch too, and for me, it was amazing because it kind of removed you from the situation, and so it didn't make you nervous. It was quite fascinating. And when you talk about fascinating in surgery, people look at you like you have three heads. They're like, "What?
Yeah,
Surgery? Amazing."
I'm telling you, man.
But it is.
Yeah, the word surgery scares a lot of people, and I don't blame them.
Correct.
I don't blame them at all. But in that procedure, I was like, of course, I was in and out,
Sure.
I was in and out.
Right.
I think sometimes I slept too long, but they would wake me up, I guess,
Yep.
And then other times I think I spoke too long. So it was really cool,
Now,
It was.
I have to ask, because for every patient, it's different. We know you're always going to have surgical site pain because they are making a very small incision. But the pain, that excruciating pain that brought you in, when did you start to notice relief of that pain? Because we know they target things incrementally, but that excruciating pain that caused you to seek surgery, when for you did you notice and start to notice relief? Was it in the operating room? Was it out? Can you explain that?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I started feeling great in the operating room.
Okay.
And then when they took me into the recovery room and I stood up, of course, after I woke up and I ate something, I stood up and I got dressed.
Yeah.
I said, "Wow, I feel no pain. I can walk."
And this is from a man that was suffering in pain where it would take him 30 minutes to get ready in the morning.
Oh, but I couldn't even tie my shoes.
Night and day.
I couldn't even take a shower. I couldn't even sit right. I couldn't do anything.
After everything that you've been through, would you feel comfortable if you knew someone was suffering the same kind of discomfort that you were? Would you feel comfortable recommending the Bonati Spine Institute to friends, family, as well?
Oh, yes, sir. I would recommend the Bonati Institute to everybody because the procedures are incredible. And I feel like a brand new man.
You can hear it in your voice.
I feel. Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
In my third procedure, in my third procedure, I'm in the recovery room. My wife walks in. Dr. Bonatti walks in, and I guess there's other folks in there also. Mm-hmm. And he looks at me, and he has an expression on his face that he's like glowing. He's like super happy, like if he found something, you know. Uh-huh. And all of a sudden, he says to me, "Wilson, get up and run." And I looked at him. I said, "Well," I said to myself, "Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm in the right. If something happens, I'm right here.
Right.
You know? Well, let me run." Right. I said, "Let me run." You know, and I ran a little bit because the recovery rooms are not that big, but I did. It was incredible what he told me to do. And when I did it, I said, "Wow, I have no pain."
Oh, unbelievable. Amazing things happen there every day. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your story of recovery and getting back in motion with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Wilson.
Oh, thank you.
And continued good health.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Aw. Those stories never get old. If you're suffering with the same types of problems that William Rodriguez did, reach out to Bonatti at 855-267-0483. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about stem cells. Fascinating stuff. Make sure you stay tuned. You're listening to American Medicine Today. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonatti Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonatti spine procedures, Alfred Bonatti, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonatti and your host, Kimberly Brumell. Thank you for listening to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
World-renowned orthopedic surgeon.
Hello. Dr. Alfred Bonatti.
And joining us in studio is Dr. Dennis Locks, a world-leading expert in regenerative medicine and using stem cell therapy for joint injuries and osteoarthritis, among other things.
That's a big word.
It is.
I have trouble with it.
Thanks for being here, Dr. Locks.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, a lot of people, we've covered stem cells pretty extensively on this show. And
it was always so taboo.
There was... a lot of stigma involved with it, especially. I think there's people still nowadays, 20-some years later plus, of stem cells being around and being used. There's still some people who think that comes from babies and things like that. Not at all the case, correct, Dr. Locks?
Well, you can get stem cells from babies.
Well,
but,
sure.
Right. But what we do is we use adult cells, and the perception is still there, and I have to explain it to a lot of patients. The Bush administration cut government funding, and it was basically around the embryonic issue. And everybody still thinks the Catholic Church is against stem cells, and they're not. They're against embryonic, but every year the Vatican has a stem cell conference that they put on, and so there is a lot of misconception regarding that.
Yeah. But in the case of what you do, you use stem cells, because we all have stem cells. Explain what they are for people who still don't even know what they are.
Well, stem cells are repair cells, and they can differentiate into other cell types. They're present in various places in your body, but for our purposes, there's really two main reservoirs that we can utilize to use them to treat, and that would be bone marrow or around your adipose tissue. In your bone marrow, you have to create new blood cells when they die, and so we need a source there, and we as humans have a tremendous capacity to grow outward, so you need stem cells to create new fat cells. So there's a tremendous reservoir in that area.
Why don't you tell us what type of things you treat with stem cells?
Well,
what type of problems?
I have had a very interesting, diverse practice. I was the first one doing it around here, and so I've kind of seen everything over the year, from just about every kind of sporting injury, from teenagers to 60-year-old Ironman, and just seen a lot of different types of injuries, professional athletes. But I would say that the average person is between 40 and 60, and they were athletic at one time and they want to get back and their joints are failing them.
Sure.
And so we are a source that can perhaps prevent them from having a knee replacement or a joint replacement surgery and keep them functional and athletic. And that's one source. And the other is we get patients who are older and they may not be candidates for medical reasons to have surgery. So we're kind of their last hope to try to keep them functional. So we have a very diverse amount of patients that we see.
Okay. Are there ever any would-be clientele that come in for stem cell therapy and they're not a candidate? Would anything be a preventative from that type of treatment?
Yes, there are people that have absolutely no cartilage and their joint is, destroyed where their bone is. It's sort of like a brake pad, and when the pads are gone and you're metal on metal and
Sure.
it's destroyed, you can't fix that.
Okay.
And there are other medical conditions. If they have active cancer, you don't want to treat them. There are reasons that we don't treat people in certain circumstances. But the vast majority of people, when you look at them on a whole and you listen to them and what it is they want, and typically their goals are improved functional level or decreased pain, and so that you pay a lot of attention to.
Well, and how does, just explain the process, because I
Exactly.
don't understand the process because I'm not a doctor. But, how does it work? I know you get the stem cells from the patient themselves.
Well,
But
let me ask him one question here.
Sure.
I know that you are in the type of a recovery joint type of a program, like arthritic cases or people who has some problems with the knees or the shoulders. But I'm interested on something that we just said. How I know that we harvest some of the stem cells from the bone marrow, but are you treated patients, for example, with leukemia, trying to regenerate the bone marrow on people who have a leukemic problem, for example?
Well, I'm not, but that's a very interesting point because stem cells isn't new. When they were doing bone marrow transplants in the 60s, they didn't really understand what they were doing. They weren't transplanting cells. They were transplanting the stem cells.
Exactly.
But because there was raw tissue, you had to use immunosuppressive agents.
Yeah.
Now you can just simplify it down to just stem cells and use the person's own before you hit them with chemo, and then make it a lot easier for them. So we've just become more sophisticated.
Do you have any experience on it?
I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I'm strictly pretty much orthopedic.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge about regenerating or curing people with stem cells that they have leukemia?
I have a peripheral knowledge of what they're doing, but they're a long way off on some of the things that they're working towards. They're very sophisticated right now in what they can do. They're infecting the stem cells with viruses to reprogram their DNA to attack target cancers and stuff. So there is really phenomenal things that are going on with the research, but we're a little bit away from making it
An agent that's going to cure it. Yeah.
or reimbursable under our current guidelines.
Right.
Yeah, we need to get rid of Obamacare.
Well, Dr. Lux, back to what Ethan was saying. Why don't you kind of explain how it works?
Just how the whole process works and how someone's stem cells that you harvest can fix or, help an injury.
Okay, well, if there is two main reservoirs, and whether you're talking about bone marrow or adipose or, anything that's going to try to repair something, and there's a lot of other things from matrices, scaffolds, and growth factors. But stem cells do two real functions. You have to take them from somewhere they're not really doing much and put them in an area where there's something to repair, like, say, a knee joint. So you would harvest some in a simple local procedure, and then you process that to make it it's like drilling for oil. You get crude. Well, you want a higher pure product like gasoline, but I make jet fuel, so it's a better refinement technique.
Super premium.
That's correct. And then the stem cells are sophisticated. They're master regulatory cells. They control immunomodulatory processes and shut down inflammatory cytokine markers. And so they do a lot more than just build a new cell, like a new cartilage cell. They actually help control what's going on in the joint environment.
None of those words made any sense to me, by the way, but I'm sure Doc understood.
You asked me and I told you.
How many treatments of stem cells do you need to see results? And does it differ from patient to patient?
It does. I try to get people better with one. There are some people who need more. I lecture kind of nationally and internationally, and the Australians kind of believe you need 3. Okay. And my comment was, what if you get them better with 1? We don't care. So there's a difference on that.
And people, do they regress? I think about other diseases, and you might try a therapy and you might gain steam, and all of a sudden the progression is lost. Do you see that with stem cells, or is it completely different? What they gain is what they keep?
That's an interesting question that a lot of people ask. And if you think about it as a stem cell can repair, and the nature of arthritis is it progresses with time. Well, if you can stop time, you've bought yourself something valuable. But if you can reverse time and repair it, you've now made them younger, but you don't become younger forever. You're not bionic.
Right.
So what you do when you leave the office after the treatment, if you're running marathons or you're putting 100,000 miles on your tire, will have an effect.
It's going to wear down again.
And it just brings something else to mind, because you talk about osteoarthritis, and I always thought arthritis couldn't be cured. How does that work? I mean, does it really get rid of the arthritis?
Well,
now you're in trouble.
Well, sorry, there's just questions that come to my mind.
I paid attention to Ethan, and I don't want to talk too. But it's a very interesting subject. We now know that there's a lot more than just wear and tear. There's local responses inside the joint, like rheumatoid arthritis, and so we're trying to approach it on many different levels. But the answer is, if you wait till your joint is falling apart, it's harder to fix. But I personally believe that this is going to move towards a mergence of preventative and regenerative, where you just start earlier and you don't end up with such bad body parts.
Wow. Fascinating
now,
stuff.
When you obtain, for example, some stem cells, I saw that we did sometimes just collect blood from the patient and then spin the whole thing and then put it on the part that we want to treat, usually on the spine. Now, but isn't that better to get the stem cells from a young individual?
Well, yes.
How you collect? Try to get to how you collect the stem cells that you're going to give to a specific patient that is not their own blood.
Well, in peripheral blood, there's very few stem cells unless you mobilize it with a particular agent like you do in chemo, Neupogen. But mostly what's happening with peripheral blood is you're spinning it and you're getting a concentrated source of platelets with that growth factors. So that has some healing potential, but nothing compared to stem cells. Okay. So it's a little bit different in what you're trying to accomplish as an end result.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, because this is a subject we all love to talk about. Dr. Dennis Laux, world-leading expert in regenerative medicine and using stem cell therapy for joint injuries and osteoarthritis, among many other things.
It's the website, drlocks.com, correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
LOX, drlocks.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us in studio. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doc.
Make sure you stay tuned, because coming up, we're going to find out what's new in American medicine today. You're listening to American Medicine Today. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
Jeff Wagstaff.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati.
Stop harassing me.
I didn't know you were.
What's up, Doc?
Look at that. She's saying stand up and stand up.
That's what he's
For
referring
people
to.
listening on the radio,
Yes,
Kimberly
I have a
has little
sign.
signs that tell Doc to stand up straight for the
A rap.
cameras, or the rap sign that we're out of time.
Rap.
Oh, I thought it was rap.
Rap.
I wanted to hear Doc. Never mind. Exactly.
2 turntables and a microphone.
Indeed.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, this is not what's new in medicine today.
No.
This is what we wanted to call Trump's
Triumphs.
triumphs. Correct, Doc?
Good.
Look at that.
I wish I had a kazoo.
All right, the longer we screw around,
Yes.
the less time Doc has to talk.
Yes.
Today is the 14th. It's only 84 days since Trump became the president. It's amazing the amount of growth that this country already has,
Right.
thanks to his input.
Right.
Look, we have the Supreme Court now saved in a conservative fashion.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday was the 14th.
Friday was the 14th.
Yes, exactly.
So
Anyways.
I asked, is it the 14th? And you guys told me it's the 14th. So it's the 15th. Okay, then
Never
it's
mind. This airs over the
This
weekend.
85
getting
days.
at.
Hey, a look behind the. We actually tape on Fridays, people. We're not trying to pull one off or anything.
Smoke and mirrors,
So,
people.
Anyway,
Okay.
the next thing that he
Exactly.
really emphasized and very fast is providing to the country is the fight against the Obamacare.
Yes.
God help us if Obama stays in our healthcare, because the country is going to be sick forever.
Yes.
So seems to be that the Republicans are getting together now to not only repeal but also replace.
Right.
Probably in the next 2 weeks we'll have some solutions to this problem. He's already building the wall, so it's
Kudos.
another of his offers, another of his promises that he's trying to comply to.
he's dropping major mother of all bombs over.
Yeah.
over
Yes.
in
Yeah, but
The
that
mother
is
of all
that is a
bombs.
gift. That's a gift. It's
That's a
nothing
gift
yet.
to who?
It's a gift to the Taliban.
Yeah, that's
Here
a
you
gift.
go.
Now, the
Happy-
other thing
happy
is
Easter.
that is already, if you look at the reports that the illegal immigration is already down in 80 and 68% of the entrance on the country illegally.
Okay.
And the other situation that we see here, he's fighting the opiates.
Yes.
I never saw in television so much input about fighting the opiates. It's something that through my whole career I tried to avoid to give narcotics to my patients. Majority of the patients with back problems,
Right.
they have opiates on their body for months and years.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is very difficult to remove. But one of the things that the people needs to know, if you have a real pain, a pain that is not a fictitious pain, and you are taking opiates, then when you solve the problem and the pain is gone, you are not a drug addict.
Right.
You can remove the medication without consequences. But if you like the medication, you are taking medication for a little bit, the pain is real, but it's not so bad, and you're taking medication for too long, then you may have a repercussion and you may need to be detoxed.
Right.
Now, the other thing that we see, it's amazing to see that he donated his salary to the parks in the country. And the consumer confidence is extremely high right now. And the job market is getting better every day.
Yes. Small steps.
The other thing is amazing also is the fact that the executive branch is being clean because they are restructuring and getting all these Democrats that they are sitting in those positions there doing nothing and making salaries. They would need to go to work now. It will be so pleasant to see a Democrat working.
But the same could be said about some Republicans. I mean, let's not just shift the blame all over to the Democratic side. There are some pretty
for one
lazy
Republican that doesn't work, we have 100 Democrats that they don't work.
There's a lot of lazy bums in Washington.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
but it is skewed more to the left, I'll give you that.
And Doc, in addition to your list of great accomplishments, look at what the markets have done. My personal investments, my 401k, have just gone crazy since Trump's been in office.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody walks. You talk to the people, and everybody is with oh my God, we have a hope.
Here's what I had to ask you though, Doc, and we kind of talked about this a little bit before the show even started. I was just reading the other day that his approval rating is like 41% now. Of course, you have to wonder where that information is coming from, who they're polling and whatnot. But it's been going down and down and down.
But you know what's amazing is the same thing that when they said that he never will be elected, the country is with him. Okay. So the news and the journalists are media. Not. Right. So the situation here is very clear. The media is against him. And they are fighting like crazy to destroy him.
And the ignorance.
But what is amazing is he gives a damn about. Okay, he has one track mind. He plows on his pathway.
Failure
and
isn't
ignores
an option.
every little thing that is on the side. And the journalists are going crazy because of that.
Doc, did you see? Hang on. Did you guys see where he was interviewed and he was talking about when he made the call to fire those Tomahawk missiles into Syria? He was meeting with
he was the
president of China.
President China was sitting there.
They were eating cake.
Beautiful.
And Trump spent more time talking about how great the cake was than talking about how they came in and said, "Sir, would you like to fire these missiles?" And he's like, "Yeah, just fire the missiles. I got to get back to this cake." That's pretty badass.
The most difficult.
But he doesn't just recklessly get into things. I mean, they said he has the meeting.
So let me answer to him 1 second. Are you a Democrat?
I'm an Ethanist. That's what I am. I don't subscribe to
the comment was pretty bad. He was eating his cake, but you know something? He already was briefed. He already knew what he needs to do.
No,
he
had
that. Exactly the plan. So he didn't need to do and involve in leaving his cake.
No, I think it was funny. I'm not
but
saying how dare he be eating dessert and
correct.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that's pretty ballsy to just be like whatever.
But he didn't get his briefings. He didn't get his briefings asking what could be done and then turning a blind eye to it. Yeah, he said, "Okay, this is the best option. Go for it." Yeah. And that's the type
at the same
of
time,
president
is listening to his military advisors. Mm-hmm. For first time, we have a president who doesn't squawk around the system and never have any type of a solution. This man has the plan, is already in move, and you know something? The message that he's giving to Korea, to Iran, and to Syria is pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. There's a new sheriff in town, boys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he has the mother of all bombs.
That's right.
Yes.
All right.
Well, we say goodbye to our flagship station at this point, but if you're listening on a different station, and many at that, we'll see you in just a few minutes after this commercial break. You're listening to American Medicine Today. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today, our affiliate segment. I am Kimberly Brumell, joined by Ethan Euchre.
Happy to be here.
Jeff Wagstaff.
Howdy, howdy.
And world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati.
Hello.
Now, after decades of drug testing, mostly on men, a new device called the Evitar may help tailor treatments for women as well. So joining us right now is Dr. Teresa Woodruff, professor of obstetrics and gynecology at Northwestern University and one of the co-authors of the study. So thank you for joining us, Dr. Woodruff.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yes. Now, I'm torn on this one. I find it fascinating yet creepy, so I do apologize.
Why do you got to apologize?
But they talk about a menstrual cycle in a petri dish, and so you've pretty much created
a reproductive system.
Yes, in a petri dish.
Yeah.
Well, really, it's not a petri dish. That's the key. A lot of people think of petri dishes because that's what we were all used to doing in biology labs in high school.
Okay.
And so what we've done is we've thrown the petri dish as far away from the laboratory as we possibly can.
Sure.
Because that doesn't really recreate the biology that we have in each of us. And namely, what that means is that we have a group of organs that all function together with the vasculature, the arteries, the capillaries, and the veins that move nutrients between organs. They communicate with each other, and then metabolic waste is eliminated. The petri dish doesn't allow for any of that. It's basically a single set of cells flat on a piece of plastic, and that doesn't represent any cell in any of our biology.
Okay.
And the cells are basically sitting in their own metabolic waste in an incubator. And so what we've done is we've really revolutionized that kind of technology by adding microfluidics, so fluid flow between different wells where each of our tissues are placed. And we started with the reproductive tract because that really represents one of the fundamental systems that has to communicate between each other with very specific outcomes. So the ovary makes hormones like estrogen and progesterone, and the fallopian tubes respond by changing the ciliary movement to allow the oocyte to move down the tube to be fertilized. The uterus and the cervix change in their dimensions, and cells slough off as they go through a normal cycle.
Right.
And so this was a great opportunity to test whether or not microfluidics could actually support organ-level communication between tissues. And when we started, we didn't know if we could really do this. We didn't know if we could get tissues to last for 28 days, which is what we did. We didn't know if we could get them to communicate with each other. We needed a universal media, which is what our blood does for each of us. And we didn't know if the function would be supported. So I don't think there's anything creepy. I think it's revolutionary technology that supports breakthrough biology, not only for reproductive biology, but for all of biology. And I want to also say that all of this was funded by the National Institutes of Health, which is important for all of us to understand how these new tools that are going to provide personalized options for each of us in the future is being funded.
I understand why it would be important because, we're talking about in the late 50s, things weren't really tested on women at all, predominantly men. And all of a sudden, they prescribed a drug to pregnant women, which turned out to cause severe birth defects. And that's because they hadn't tested it on women.
Right. They didn't know what the effects would be on a pregnant woman because they only tested the drug on men.
So I get the fact that what's being done will help many women in this country or the world. But I mean, we're still. Are you saying that they won't ever have to test on females with the type of advancements you're making here?
No. I think what we have is a new tool in our kit that brings us from the bench to people with tools that are more like how our own organs function. So we'll still use cells in petri dishes, but imagine now for cardiovascular disease, where there are different phenomenologies that impact males and females. Bone health, for example. We've never been able to study bone or cartilage in the context of the rising and falling hormones of the female, testosterone, or estradiol and progesterone, nor with males. So we're also creating systems that provide the morning to night cycle for male hormone, testosterone, and then the outcomes that we would see on other tissues. And this is really an exciting new way of thinking about the step between the individual cell in a petri dish leading us towards animal or human biology. I think it's going to hasten drug development in a really significant way.
Will just taking organs in that one particular part of the body, though, be indicative of how it will be in a human, in the entire body?
Yeah. Right. It's one more step toward that because we've never had integration of organs ever. We have individual cells within individual wells of a petri dish. We've never connected those tissues in the way at all. And so that's how this technology will allow us to move forward. So, for example, we can now put in bone or cartilage or adipose or muscle tissues and begin to look at the biology of drugs or their effect on those tissues during a normal cycle. And that's really going to, all of us have cycling hormones, males and females. Females a 28-day cycle, males a 1-day cycle. So I'm glad I'm a female, not a male. But all of our biology really is informed by the underlying sex hormones, XX or XY, in each of our cells. And there's an imposition of these hormones. And now we're going to be able to study that biology. In the absence of studying hormones or sex as a biological variable, our cells have no hormones of either male or female. So at some level, it might be a pseudo-postmenopausal state, but not really. So we're going to amp up our ability as basic scientists to be able to understand more about the cell signaling pathways that are occurring in each of our organs using this kind of system.
Dr. Woodruff, here's my thought as you talk. I'm thinking eventually maybe, not only you've been working on just the female reproductive system. I say just like that's some minor thing, but eventually, don't you think you'll be able to produce these different systems that could create essentially an entire human being? So whatever part of the body you wanted to test drugs on, you could. And here's what I was thinking. Would that replace animal testing, and would it speed up the FDA approval process because you have an apparatus that can accurately reflect how the human body would respond to these drugs down the road? And how far away are we from something like that?
Well, that's certainly the hope is that we have representations of our organs in the system so that we could use iPS cells from an individual and have a liver. In our system, we have a liver to provide the opportunity for metabolism, and each of us metabolize drugs very differently. And so being able to look at metabolism on a personalized level is going to really allow each drug to be tailored to each of us. And I think that's a really important new way to use the system. We also have islet cells that we've been using in the system, and we can actually take the insulin out of the media so that the islets, the pancreas, is producing the insulin necessary for the other tissues. And we're studying male cells as well. So we have a lot of opportunity here, and I think we'll always need to have the biological. These are proxies for true physiology. So this is biology that's representing animal or human physiology. Our hope is to eventually limit the number of animals in biomedical research and make it easier and faster and safer for these drugs to be tailored for our individuals rather than population, which is the way drugs get tested now.
Forgive me, I'm going to ask a question, and I apologize if it sounds strange. But you guys are developing organs. Are you guys also going to do like a miniature brain? Because doesn't the brain give emotion to what you're doing?
Would it be conscious?
Well, not only that, but when you take drugs or different things, wouldn't the brain also have an effect on the outcome, or am I wrong?
So I don't think we have. So what we're doing is we're creating models for each of the organs. So we're allowing for the normal, ordinary function of each tissue to be mimicked in the system. And the best way this system is used is through communication between organs. So the endocrine system and the nervous system are the two great communication systems of our body. And the endocrine system has hormones that communicate information between all of our tissues. And that's something that we simply can't model in ordinary systems. And so this system is going to allow for that ordinary communication that is relayed between each of our different tissues to be part of our basic science analysis of signaling pathways, to allow us to study drug interaction, to identify new drugs and how they might work, and to begin to use each of the tissues of the body in a way that is as it is in our bodies. They are communicating together, they're informing each other, they're informing the biology of downstream effects of each of the drugs. And that's what's really exciting about this new technology, is it's going to enable a new kind of biology that is going to, I think, open up a level of discovery that we haven't had in the past.
Well, we truly appreciate you coming on to discuss this, Dr. Teresa Woodruff, Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology at Northwestern University and one of the co-authors of the study. Thank you so much for sharing your advancement called EVATAR.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good one, Dr.
Take
Woodruff.
care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Crazy cool sci-fi type stuff going on there. I love it.
Wow. Who'd have thought?
Creepy, as Kimberly would say.
Sorry, I do. I think it's creepy cool. Well, that about wraps things up. Thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today. Make sure you check us out every week nationally on Bloomberg. Check us out on iHeartRadio, keyword Bonati. And if you or someone you know suffering with neck, back, sciatic pain, reach out to them at 855-267-0483 or tweet at Dr. Bonati using hashtag American Medicine Day or hashtag AMT. We always like to hear from you. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.